Let's get into predicting these NBA playoff teams after the schedule release. We're going to start with the Western Conference. I'm going to give you my number 7 and 8 team, and you can do the same. At number 8 is a team that resides in the city that I'm sitting in right now.
Ah,
It's the Memphis Grizzlies. John Morant's first healthy offseason in 3 years. That is what this summer was. Jaren Jackson got injured way early in the offseason, but he's expected to miss little to no time. Not to mention that I've been hearing that he is off his scooter, off the crutches. He's in a walking boot. He just flew out to LA to meet with Kevin Garnett and watch 2 hours of film with him. That's a really good sign, especially after signing the contract he did. He's not satisfied. He's not getting the check and relaxing. Contavious Caldwell Pope adds some much needed championship pedigree and locker room leadership in there. Ty Jerome will be another top 3 candidate for 6 man of the year. I can't wait to watch what he does. Jalen Wells should take a second year leap. Excited to see what he does with a bigger role now that Desmond Bane is not there. They add a lottery pick in Cedric Howard. Who knows what he is, but they don't need him to start right away. Scottie Pippen now has a full season of playing a meaningful role on a competitive basketball team. Excited to see what he has. I think as far as the honorable mentions that did not make this list, you have Dallas, which we debated about last week, San Antonio, and Portland as the first 3 out. At number 7, I have the Golden State Warriors, and it's the only reason I have them that low is they have still yet to sign a center, and Jonathan Kuminga is not signed either. How do you feel about 7 and 8, and what teams do you have there?
7 and 8 is similar for me outside of one of the picks that you had there. I think you can guess which one it is. But I think when I was doing the Western Conference standings and predictions, the main takeaway I came away with was that I'm not confident in them. I think that it could be wrong very easily because what's going to separate the top team in the West from everybody else is going to be a couple games. I think that every single West team that makes the playoffs has a chance to win 50 or more games. I think the cutoff is going to be like 48 wins, and that's how good I think the West is going to be. So, for example, what separates the second seed versus the sixth seed could be like 3 or 4 wins. I think it's going to be that tight of a Western Conference. So it was kind of difficult to kind of jumble it up because injuries happen. There's so much things that happen in the season. But at number 8, I have the San Antonio Spurs. I just don't see Victor Wembanyama missing the playoffs in his third season when I think he has a chance to become the greatest player in the history of the NBA. LeBron James in his third season made the NBA playoffs with the Cleveland Cavaliers. Michael Jordan in his third season made the NBA playoffs with the Chicago Bulls. Luka Doncic in his third season made the playoffs with the Dallas Mavericks. You look at every GOAT level player in their third season, they are making the playoffs, if not winning a playoff series, and already getting MVP votes. And I think Victor Wembanyama this upcoming season is going to cruise to a defensive player of the year. I think he's going to be a top 5 MVP candidate. And I think him having a co-star like De'Aaron Fox is going to help a lot. I like the direction the Spurs are going in, and I know their roster is still flawed, but I think Victor Wembanyama's greatness can propel them in a very stacked West, and they can make the playoffs this year. So I have the Spurs at 8, and then I have the Warriors at 7 because I just don't trust their age and their health. They have Steph Curry, Jimmy Butler, and Draymond as the 3 best players on their team. And the difference between them and an older team like the Clippers is that I think the Clippers have the depth to withstand an injury or two. I don't think the Warriors do. If Jimmy Butler misses an extended period of time, the offense is going to drop off dramatically. If Steph Curry misses a period of time, they're going to probably lose every single game in that stretch. And for that reason, I have the Warriors at 7, but I can see how they can build off their momentum coming off last year when they got Jimmy, and they were one of the best teams in the West, but they're just older and they're more fragile.
I want to start off by agreeing with you on how difficult of an exercise this is with the West. It's incomparable with the East. I had a hard time finding teams to slide into 7 and 8 in the Eastern Conference. This time there was 5 to 6 I could put in at 7 and 8. So I completely agree with you. Golden State, we see eye to eye on. The Memphis San Antonio argument, to me, you have 100% a good point on Wemby and the greatness of him. Just like the Lakers, this to me is not a Wemby argument. It's the rest of the roster. I'm looking at Luke Cornett playing a role for them. I'm looking at De'Aaron Fox now being a $229 million player.
He's just as good as Ja.
We'll see this year. We'll see this year. I think Ja has been to the playoffs, the postseason every year he's been in the league, been healthy in the league, excuse me. De'Aaron Fox has not. So we will see about that. De'Aaron Fox, as far as what his role and future is with this team, I'm not sure. We shall see with that as well. It's the role players on the team, the 5 through 9 guys that are going to be coming off the bench for the San Antonio Spurs. And in this Western Conference, I don't think it's comparable to the Grizzlies 5 through 9. I think the top end talent, I'm not going to sit here and argue Ja versus Wemby or Jaren versus Wemby. It's ridiculous. But now in 2025, this version of the NBA, I think depth overrules that. And I think that is why I picked Memphis over San Antonio.
It does matter, and Memphis has great depth. You're hoping you get a revitalized KCP. That would be huge for the defensive side of the ball and to hit open shots. And then Ty Jerome was a great signing. So I think the Grizzlies have depth. They're going to have good players to play. They're going to have a deep rotation. So that's the allure with them.
And I'm not going to sit here and be delusional. Like, everybody's going to be predicting what you are. I think people like the Spurs more than they like Memphis over this year. And I'm not going to act like, what you're saying is crazy. But my number 5 and 6 is at 6 is where we have the Los Angeles Lakers for all the reasons I said earlier. Amazing starting lineup, a very top heavy team, no real depth there. Minnesota is at 5. I wanted to put them higher because they have another year of growth for Anthony Edwards, more chemistry with Julius Randle. Naz Reid is back. They got 4-time Defensive Player of the Year. Rudy Gobert still on the roster. The biggest question mark and why I had to put them at 5 is their point guard situation. I don't know what Mike Conley's role looks like at this age. I don't think, based on at least Summer League and last year, that Rob Dillingham is ready to fill that. I would have loved to seen Tyus Jones back there where he's originally from. He went to high school in Minnesota. I think that signing would have did a tremendous favor for Anthony Edwards this season. But because of the point guard question, I have them at 5.
At 6 and 5, I have the two LA teams. And I think that at 6, I'm going to lean with the Lakers being here. I think the difference between them and the Clippers is with the Clippers, I get the sense that they're all bought in. I get the sense that they all have one goal. They all are trying to work together to achieve that. And with the Lakers, I get a sense of detachment. I think Luka is going to come into the best shape of his life, probably. Even if he doesn't, I think he's still going to be an MVP level player. But what is LeBron up to? When I've seen these things that LeBron has been doing, posting pictures in the Cavaliers facility, then the Clippers facility, all the talk that's been made about his player option and whether or not he wants to be in LA, I just don't think this is a bought in pairing. And I think that if you aren't completely bought in, it's going to be hard to just have talent propel you to the top of the West and to be better than a team like the Clippers, who have so much depth. And then it's also the uncertainty around DeAndre Ayton. I think he'll put up good numbers, but what is he going to be? Is he going to be a head case? Is he going to have a career revival? I think that's what you have to bank on. And if you think he's going to be somewhere in between, then he's a difference maker, but not that much of a difference maker. And they don't have real perimeter defense. So I think because of that, they have the top end stars, but they aren't completely bought in and they don't have the depth. That's why I have the Clippers over them, because I think the Clippers, they basically have swapped out Amir Coffey early in the season for Kawhi Leonard, because he's going to be healthy heading into this season. And then you added Bradley Beal and John Collins and Brook Lopez. They still have Nick Batum and Chris Dunn. They added in Chris Paul. This team feels like a team that's bought in 100%, and it is no games. They're older. They understand what it is. They understand that the timeline for them to win a championship is now. And I think that every game they're taking seriously. And that's what I think the difference is between them and the Lakers.
Completely agree with everything you just said. And for all the reasons that you laid out, that's why I have the Clippers above the Minnesota Timberwolves at 4. They're old, yes, but scary deep, just like you said. Houston is my number 3 team. I feel like depth will carry them through this season to be a top 3 team in the Western Conference, even if Kevin Durant misses 30 games, which you can basically pencil him in to do at this stage in his career. Where did you have Houston on your list?
I had Houston next up at 4 for the Kevin Durant injury factor. I don't expect him to play over 60 games. He's going to miss 20 games. And in those games, I think that it's going to be hard for Houston to consistently generate offense and have good spacing. We're talking about a lineup out there with no KD, with Fred VanVleet, Amen Thompson, Dorian Finney-Smith, Jabari Smith, and Alperen Sengun. Now, the spacing isn't the worst. Fred can shoot, DFS can shoot, Jabari can shoot, but they aren't snipers. They're more so like 36% 3 point shooters. They aren't like 40% 3 point shooters. And we have to see if a man takes a leap in his jump shot. But the injury factor with KD is why I have them at 4, and I have Minnesota at 3. I think Minnesota, when they figured it out and they gelled chemistry wise, they were borderline unbeatable. I mean, Julius Randle, when he gelled with that team, when he got hurt and then he came back, that team was one of the 5 best teams in the NBA offensive rating wise. They were a top 10 defense, and I still think they have great depth. They brought back Nas Reed. Terrence Shannon Jr. now takes over for Nickeil Alexander-Walker, and I think he has more offensive firepower. The point guard position is the position that worries you the most, but I think Rob Dillingham, even if he doesn't get meaningful playing time, I think you have an option with Terrence Shannon Jr. out there to have another ball handler with Anthony Edwards. And I think Jalen Clark also is going to make an impact, and they still have Dante DiVincenzo. So this is one of the deepest teams in the West, and I think that Anthony Edwards has been getting better every year. He's added an elite 3 point jump shot to his game. The next step is either getting that rim finishing back to an elite level or getting that mid-range shooting to a good level, because he shot 36% on those this past season. And I think that this could be the year that Anthony Edwards wins MVP.
Everybody's winning MVP this year.
Luka, Wemby, and yes, all 3.
I know you prefaced that, there may be a 2 or 3 win difference between 3 and 8, but let me just make sure I'm hearing you right. Minnesota, a team who finished 6th in the Western Conference last year.
49 wins.
Yes, 49 wins. Loses Nickeil Alexander-Walker, who got paid by the Atlanta Hawks and is a big reason why a lot of people are higher on the Atlanta Hawks. You lose him. You have an aging point guard who almost was unplayable last postseason, and God knows what that's going to be this regular season. So you have a point guard question mark. You lost a rotational guy from last year, and you jump from 6th to 3rd in an arguably even better West. How does that work?
Because last year Julius Randle missed time due to injury, and so did Dante DiVincenzo, and that's why. I think I expect them to be healthier this year, and that's why I have them 3rd in the West. I think in the West, the seeding all comes down to health. If Minnesota was healthy all year long, then they would have been one of the 3 best teams in the West, because the year before, Minnesota was the 3rd seed in the West, and they traded Cat for Randle and Dante, and I think that trade actually made them better, and they finished 6th in the West. So I think a lot of it just comes to health and attrition. And I like the rookie they got in Joan Behringer. If he plays any meaningful minutes at center, he's a defensive monster, and he's going to be somebody that can anchor those non-Gobert minutes. Minnesota is going to be really good.
We shall see. I understand what you're saying as far as Anthony Edwards getting better, and the minute difference is going to be in between these seeds, but hopefully they can stay healthy. I think Anthony Edwards being your star player and the fact that he's as durable as he has been, I think is definitely a good sign. At number 2, this was actually way tougher than I thought it was going to be. I didn't want to put this team at number 2, but I had to, because if I didn't, it would have been crazy. I got the Denver Nuggets. To me, this is the biggest threat to Oklahoma City, and it's not even close between any of the other teams we've talked about. Last year, the Nuggets took them to Game 7. And in that Game 7, we know their rotation: Nikola Jokic, Murray, Christian Brown, Michael Porter Jr., who was unable to lift his arm due to a shoulder injury, Aaron Gordon on a severe hamstring strain, and off the bench, the minute leaders were Russell Westbrook and Peyton Watson. That's the team that took OKC to 7 games last year. This year, that rotation will likely be the same 3: Jokic, Murray, Brown, a healthy Cam Johnson, a healthy Aaron Gordon. Off the bench, they're probable minutes leaders there will be Jonas Valanciunas, Tim Hardaway Jr., and Bruce Brown. Jonas Valanciunas and Tim Hardaway Jr. and Bruce Brown over Russell Westbrook and Peyton Watson. And oh yeah, you add in a healthy Cam Johnson into that starting rotation. That's not a threat to me. That's a team that can flat out beat OKC, and I'm praying they meet again in the playoffs.
I think 2 is easily the Denver Nuggets. I don't have any doubt in my mind OKC is going to be the 1st seed again. They won 67 games, and Chet missed half the year. If he stays healthy, if he plays even more games, this team, I think they have a chance to break the single season wins record. I think they can win 74 games. That's how good I think they are.
Joel, there's something to be said. After you win the championship, you don't value the regular season as much. And it's not just me sitting here saying that or watching that. It's fact. You look at the Boston Celtics, they fell asleep for 3 weeks last regular season. OKC has done that. Shea has won MVP. Jalen Williams has had a 40-point finals game. Yes, Chet Holmgren will be healthy, but they know that what actually matters is the postseason. And I don't know, I'm not arguing that they're not going to be the number one seed. I agree with you on that. But as far as winning 74 games, I don't think that's going to happen, especially in how deep this conference is this year.
We've never seen a team this young win a championship. It's never happened. I've never seen it in my lifetime. You've never seen it in your lifetime. Maybe somebody watching this that's 80 years old saw it in the 70s with Bill Walton and the Blazers, but it hasn't happened in modern history, in recent memory. And there is something to be said for these players having a sense of selfishness in a way where Jalen Williams was an all defensive player. He was an all NBA player, and he averaged, 21 points per game. There is a reason to believe he can up to 24, 25 a night if he really wanted to. There's a reason to believe Chet, when totally healthy and offensive skill set is on full display, could be 18-11 with 2 or 3 blocks. Shea's not just going to stop playing at an MVP level. We're talking about an MVP and his supporting cast that is J-Dub and Chet, the 2 co-stars, getting exponentially better, along with having the best role players in the NBA. I think because they won a championship, they have the monkey off their back. They're able to play the most free basketball that they've played in the last year and a half. I think that this is a year that if they don't listen, winning 74 games in a season, people didn't even think the 2016 Warriors were going to do that. It is a special accomplishment. Nobody knows when something like that is ever going to be broken. For damn sure, OKC is clearing 60 wins, and they're going to clear the Nuggets in wins. I'm willing to bet that they will have a 10-win advantage over the Denver Nuggets.
Do you think that a team with 4 Hall of Famers on it, Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, Draymond Green, and Klay Thompson, people didn't think they had a chance at breaking the all-time wins record? I think they did.
That's not the team that did it, though.
Oh, that's fair. That's fair. It's the year before.
Yeah, it's the year before. But you're right. Oh, yeah. They got KD and they didn't win more than 73.
Yep, 100%.
But that's because Draymond came out and he said that it wasn't worth it, the amount of energy it took to do that. Mm-hmm. But I think now with OKC having a ring under their belt, they have the freedom to try to go after whatever they want. If OKC truly has the goal in mind of breaking this record, I think they could do it.
I don't think that goal is on their mind. And my next question after the flub I just had about Golden State was, do you think coming out of Game 7 of the NBA Finals, a chance to win their first title at home and following a parade that followed that, they're going to give a shit about October and November basketball?
I think they're so young that they probably will. I think that they're not old enough to where they're trying to properly heal their bodies and do everything the right way and load manage. I think that they're a young enough team to where they're able to go all out for all 82 games and it not bother them. And I think the finals point holds some validity. Like, they're coming off a long season and now they have a shorter off season. And what can that lead to? That could lead to injuries. But we already saw this OKC team deal with an injury to their third best player and Isaiah Hartenstein early in the year, and they were still able to win 67 games. So I think that even with all the worst case scenario things, they will be a 65-win team, and I think that's like the bare minimum. I think that they will win that many games.
I think the reason, by the way, I'm not arguing that they can't win 67 games. I think that's 100% a possibility. But when you're talking about 74, that is a stark difference between those two numbers. And no Golden doubt. State, the league they were in, was not nearly as deep as this league now. It is not a indictment against Shea, Jalen Williams, Chet, if he's healthy. It's the combining factors that being in Game 7 of the NBA Finals, now coming into the season in October and November, I don't know what their focus is going to be. I assume it's going to be there, but we assume that with Golden State and all those guys. And it took it takes these teams who have done it a little bit longer to start buying in again. And whenever you combine that with the fact that this league is a lot deeper, that's why 74 games to me is not going to happen.
The biggest question mark with OKC is just the health thing. But I think Chet, I'm hoping he's going to be healthier. And even with everything that you're saying, I think that OKC has the best chance of anybody in recent memory to break this record. I really do. And even with talking about the not taking a regular season seriously, all this other stuff, there is not a team that is on OKC's level. I know that Denver is the biggest threat to OKC.
They're on their level.
They're not on their level.
They are on their level this year. They are.
You think so?
Okay. They were on their level last year. What are we talking about? There was a game 7. Two guys were injured. They were on the same level last year, and they got better. They got better.
In game 7, it did not look like they were on the same level.
They had 2 guys with damn near disabling injuries out there on the floor. And their first 2 guys off the bench were Westbrook and Peyton Watson. What are we talking about? They were in a game 7. They were in a game 7. They were on the same level, and they got better.
Now you're going from Russ to Tim Hardaway Jr. I'm so scared. I'm shocked. Oh, no way. No, THJ. No, I can't.
It's not that. It's Jonas Valanciunas. They've never had a viable backup center. They've always been a huge minus when Jokic is off the floor. Now they may break even.
What is OKC going to do to Jonas Valanciunas?
We're talking about 6 through 8. I'm not talking about Valanciunas compared to Chet, him compared to Jalen. I'm saying, you're saying, they're on the same level, bro. They are on the same level. We saw that last year. A 7-game series proves that. You go out and make much-needed improvements to the roster, and you're just all of a sudden dropping off. I don't know where these calculations are going in your brain. Minnesota loses a role player. Their point guard is another year closer to 40, and they're just going to jump up to 3. Now Denver makes all the necessary moves they needed to make, and they got cheaper with more flexibility, and they're just not on the same level as a team they just went 7 games with. People forget that second round series, and it's infuriating because not only did they have that 7-game series with them, they had the 7-game series with Indiana. I get in the regular season, they won 67 games, but when we're talking about 74 games and looking at the Western Conference as a whole, Denver is on that level. They proved it last year, and they will prove it this year.
The argument that you're using is flawed because you are holding against OKC that they won a championship and they won't take the regular season seriously. What is Denver? Well, Denver is the definition of a team that is going to cruise their way into the playoffs like they did this past season. They were one of the worst defenses in the regular season. They looked terrible.
They fired their coach.
Yes, they looked so terrible. They had to fire their coach and bring in a new voice in David Adelman. He had to step up and take the reins of that team, and then they improved in the playoffs. But overall, Denver is the definition of a team that isn't going to go all out in the regular season. Yet you were contemplating putting them as the #1 seed. Jonas Valanciunas is a cone. He can't play more than 18 minutes per game.
That's all he needs to play. They have Nikola Jokic.
He's not good defensively. Offensively, he provides post offense, but that is outdated in the modern day NBA. Bruce Brown hasn't been good since he's been in Denver. Every stop he's been at, he hasn't had that 3-point shot.
Where?
Since he's been in Denver.
Okay.
It's been a couple of years since Bruce Brown has been. Russell Westbrook, I think, is better than Bruce Brown. Russell Westbrook last year is better than Bruce Brown. Yes, he is. And then Tim Hardaway Jr. Just talk to every single Dallas Mavericks fan that had to sit through some Tim Hardaway Jr. minutes in the playoffs. He's inconsistent.
Can I talk to Detroit fans too?
You could talk to them. He was hot and cold in the playoffs. He didn't play one of the playoffs. And then we're talking about Cam Johnson, and I love Cam Johnson. I feel like when you go from MPJ to Cam Johnson, the biggest return value in that is the contract, the pay decrease you're going from MPJ to Cam Johnson. But is Cam Johnson a way better player than MPJ? No, he's not. MPJ shoots the ball better. He rebounds the ball better. I think when he's locked in his size, he's able to defend better. And Cam Johnson has injury concerns. He is not the most durable player. So people are looking at the Nuggets with this half glass full. Everything's going to go right. And maybe it does. But there is some real uncertainty with them as well. And I'm not willing to say say, yeah, Jonas Valanciunas. That's why. No way.
They're on the same level, and you yourself are making the points for that. I'm not arguing who is going to win a title, who's going to win the playoff series. My only point is that they were on the same level last year. They'll be on the same level this year. And who knows how close that race is. I hear you. It also boils down to I'm taking Nikola Jokic over Shai Gilgeous-Alexander 10 times out of 10.
So that's what it comes down to. It's not about any of the things you mentioned.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. It is about the 7-game series.
SGA.
It is about the role players. It is about getting better. OKC did not steamroll everyone in the playoffs. This isn't the 2016 Warriors who were 16-1 in the postseason. This team lost close to 10 playoff games.
And now they're ready. They're more prepared. Now, that experience was needed because we have to remember, this was a team that never has done that ever. They're the youngest team that
nobody's
ever
on their level? Are you
now that they have that experience, it is fair to assume they have that playoff experience. They know what it takes. Let's not discount the fact that OKC was down 2-1 in that series versus Denver, and SGA was smiling because he knew Denver wasn't on his level. He knew that once he takes over,
they're down 2-0 in a series
Denver.
And they're not on the same level?
And
what?
He was smiling because he knew that he was going to come back and win the series. And what happened in Game 7? They were not on the same level.
Everybody was injured. Everybody.
It might have been a sweep because that Game 7 loss was so embarrassing that it might have been a sweep, that series.
They were not only down 2-0, they were down 3-2, and then Aaron Gordon happened.
You best believe the next time that OKC plays Denver in the playoffs, if they do, it's going to be a quick series. Wrap it up quickly. It's going to be quick. It's going to be quick.
We'll wrap up.
They're not the same young pups. They've evolved. They're big dogs now. They're not pups.